I think I've never seen anything like it. The left is always advocating dense urban living, high rises, European style, and to surrender the autonomy of your car and depend on light rail and subways for mass transit and urban parks. Ostensibly, they say this is a better use of resources. Of course, the people who are saying this, Gavin Newsom has a $9 million vast estate, right? All these people in the East Coast, Barack Obama, who said it, has 4 mansions. None of them are high rises. Nobody wants to live like that who's advocating it. So his point is that there's another agenda they don't like to talk about. Once you put a lot of people in an urban society and they don't have detached homes and garages and cars, then they're dependent on the city for everything. They don't have a backyard, so they have to go to a park. And they don't have a car, so they have to get on a light rail or bus. They don't have a front door, so they have to take an elevator and depend on the elevator, communal. So it's all a communal idea, and therefore the state, the left, the people who are the engineers feel that they have leverage over the individual.
Victor Davis Hanson exposes the deep hypocrisy of America's ruling elites. While they advocate for dense urban living, dependence on mass transit, and communal spaces in the name of sustainability, they themselves retreat to sprawling luxury estates, untouched by the policies they impose. Hanson argues that these measures aren't really about efficiency. They're about increasing state control over everyday life, stripping citizens of autonomy over transportation, housing, and even personal safety. California stands as Hanson's warning to the rest of America. Zoning laws are undermined, poverty and crime are rising, and political leaders like Gavin Newsom promote a model they refuse to live by. The state's elite never pay the price. Ordinary people bear the cost. From illegal compounds shielded by DEI politics to unchecked homelessness and failing infrastructure. California has become the blueprint to fear, not admire. Hanson's core message is clear. When the state controls every aspect of life while shielding itself from consequence, that's not progress. It's a recipe for widespread instability.
So they can adjudicate the level of safety, law enforcement in the park, on the elevator, on the subway, not the individual. And that's why they hate the Second Amendment so much. So what he's saying is that in their way of thinking, they control your life and then by intention. So on this light rail in North Carolina, there was no charge. It was an honor system. So what they're saying is we are allowing a criminal element onto the light rail, and that should remind you of racism and crime and what the proper way of doing it. More counselors, more alternative sentencing, and you're going to get in your elevator. If you don't like it, then you better reach out and be less selfish and less white and less et cetera, et cetera. And that's what they want. And you can see the effects in Europe where when you bring in a lot of immigrants and the Europeans, not all of them, but much larger percentage than us, live or outside the city in circular high rises that depend on buses and trains and elevators and communal parks, then they're much more sensitive to 1 million people coming into Germany from the Middle East without audit. And they have to depend on the government to protect them. And the government might say, can't hear you. What do you mean? Oh, I can't quite protect you. Oh, poor baby, you're not safe. Well, maybe you should be a little bit more progressive. Read some critical race theory before I give you another police, that kind of stuff. Would you want to depend on Karen Bass or Vi Lytles or whatever his name for your safety? I wouldn't. And the real morality are the people who don't care about the defenseless and the innocent, and they unleash these people and they never suffer the consequences of their own ideology. Never. They have private security. They have homes in the proper zip codes. They can afford sophisticated security systems. They don't need to go into bad neighborhoods. They don't take the subway. They don't take the light rail. They don't do any of that. Same thing about illegal immigration. I don't want to be too detailed, but I drove around, I would say, a 5 square mile area. And I would say a typical compound that I viewed, I won't give any information on exactly, it was a former farmhouse where I knew the occupant. Now it must have, I would call them a mixture of garage lean-tos and trailers that are parked on jacks. It must have over 40 people living there. There's every type of animal that I saw, menage, chickens, stuff. This is all single family zone. Everything you could see is in violation. And the person who is renting the place is now subletting shacks to illegal immigrants. It looks to me like I didn't check the status, but my point is the state allows that to happen. And they do it because of DEI. And they say this is a protected group of people, poor immigrants. They have nowhere to go. California, we've zoned everybody out of a home. We want to make sure our neighborhood in Atherton and Fairville and Lafayette and Malibu is really good for us. We're wealthy, but we feel bad about that. So we're going to let in 3 or 4 million people that are illegal into California, and we'll send them to places like Kern County, Tulare County, the foothills, anywhere away from the coastal zone. And then they can do anything they want. They can live anywhere they want. We're not going to affect dog licensing. We're not going to worry about zoning laws, single-family homes. If you can put 50 people on a quarter lot, that's your problem. And that's what they do, because Gavin is never going to see this. Boy, he's very quiet about all this. He's trashing Trump on social media. He has his expert influencers on that write his X tweets, but he doesn't want to talk about. He's trying to blow up a couple more dams. He blew up 4. He wants to blow up 2 more in Napa, but he doesn't talk about. There's nothing going on in Pacific Palisades. It's just a desert. Reminds me of Calgagus, the Scottish tribal chieftain that Tassus said. He says to his people, these people make a desert and they call it peace. And that's what they make, a desert, and they call it what? Progress. So he's doing nothing. He's not addressing the power problem, the brownouts, the quarter people don't pay their bill, the 21% that live below the poverty line, the madmen on the freeways, the crazy truck drivers, the inadequates. None of that. It's just, I'm going to run against Donald Trump and make California the model for the United States.
If you value honest analysis and real conversations, make sure to subscribe. Hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. What did we miss and what should we tackle next? Your voice makes this community stronger. Let's keep pushing for the truth together.